Now that I have all this money, how can I make my money work for me, or how can I use this money to propel me into like a long-term thing? I had a lot of friends and I lost a lot of friends because they'd say, oh, that's a cool idea, but you're never going to make real money out of it. Or, that's a cool idea, but this or but that. So I really had to know who I was, what I want out of life.
I mean, we talk about this in door to door a lot, but you need a why to mentally stay super strong and like to really motivate you. So I would say, what's your why?
I don't want to spend too much time planning and kind of get caught in analysis paralysis.
In the first month, we made all of our money back, our investment money back. By month 4, we're doing like 20 grand and we're like, holy cow, this is crazy.
Well, Jimmy, thanks for being on.
Dude, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so a little background on Jimmy. Jimmy started off in sales, what was it, about 3 years ago?
3 years ago about.
Okay, cool. So he started off in sales about 3 years ago, made a good amount of money there, but then transitioned to starting a pickleball business called Arete. They make phenomenal paddles. We'll throw the link in below to go check them out. But he does $203,000 a year now running that business, going from sales to starting that business while being super involved with school, with the student community, everything like that. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
But if you could give us a little background on yourself and just talk about your journey before sales and then just getting into it and why you chose that route.
Awesome. Yeah, before sales, I guess to preface, I feel like I've always been very entrepreneurial minded. Like ever since I was young, when I was in first grade, I knew the value of money a lot earlier than the other kids in my class. So when I was in first grade, my mom would drive me to the dollar store. I'd buy the packs of the Army Men. I'd bring them to school. And then other kids would come and say, hey, like, here's $1, here's $2. How many Army Men can I get? And it's like, oh, for $1, you can get 4 Army Men, and you get 100 for $1, right, at the dollar store. And someone would come up to me, hey, for $5, how many can I get? And I'd say, oh, I'll make you a good deal. I'll give you 50 Army Men for $5. So ever since I was really young, like I realized if you know money and you know how money works, you can just make money easily. So I've always liked entrepreneurship. And then just grew up all through high school, went to American Fork High School in Utah. Awesome experience. Then I served an LDS mission in Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel like I got a lot of my good sales skills. I feel like to be an entrepreneur, you really need to know how to sell. Because at the beginning, when it's you or a small team, like you're the one, you're doing the sales, the marketing, everything. And sales is one of the biggest aspects of a business. So my mission really propelled me and taught me how to sell. Because if you can sell the gospel, I feel like you can sell anything. I then came home from my mission, was enrolled in school, and I was wondering how can I make some good money fast. And then I talked to Ian. Ian told me all about sales. And then, I did sales door to door for a year, and it was an awesome experience. Made some good money, learned how to work hard, learned how to sell, to persuade people. And then coming home afterwards, now that I have all this money, how can I make my money work for me, or how can I use this money to propel me into a long-term thing? And so I've always been very passionate about pickleball. Like before my mission and before in high school, I would play like every other night just with my friends, having fun. So there's an indoor place here in Utah that I'd go play at a lot. And then when I was there, one day this guy came in and he's like, hey, I have my pickleball paddle and everyone else has my same paddle. And how pickleball works is it's called the paddle up system. It's like everyone will lay their paddles against the fence to wait in line. And then when 4 people come off, the next 4 paddles laying in line, they'll grab their paddles and go up and play. So this guy's like, everyone has my same paddle. So we're getting confused. Who's next in line? Who's next to play on the court? So like, I'm thinking, what if there was a good way to differentiate your paddles while having the same paddle? And so I looked up online, there's already solutions out there and there wasn't really anything. So then I thought a few ideas. Number one, you could use Sharpies, but that's actually illegal technically if you're a pro or if you want to play in competitions. But then I thought number 2, you could use a sticker and put it on the edge of your paddle. But then I thought, well, that might be hard because it might fall off. I thought number 3, maybe you could customize the band. So like a little band that goes around the throat of the paddle. I said, what if you could customize that and like put your name, phone number, whatever on it? And then, just like that, I had the idea. So then I did a lot of market research, figured out how to do it. And that was like my first pickleball company. Now I have Arete, and then we're actually rebranding to Corporate Pickleball Solutions here soon.
Okay.
But that's how the idea was born. And that really propelled me into entrepreneurship and going all in that.
Talk to me about those timelines. So you were doing sales. How quickly after that did you start doing these bands and then going into Arete and whatnot?
Yeah, so I did sales and then I got back, and pretty much like the next month after I got back was when I was like, okay, now I have all this money. What do I do with it? How can I start a business? What should I do with it? And then I started the company. It was really cool. The company is it was super cheap to start up. We figured out the solution to make the bands was having like a laser engraver. And then we'd buy plain bands from China for 30 cents. Then when people would order, they'd pay us $10 for one band. Then all we'd do is put in the laser engraver, engrave their name, phone number, whatever they wanted, and then ship it over to their house. So the startup cost was maybe 1,500 total to get the machine, to get the initial bands, to build a website. And then initially we just started marketing through Facebook groups. So we joined a lot of Facebook groups. It was free marketing. We just sent photos of like our product and said, hey, we do custom bands. Initially, it was just my phone number. So initially we just said, hey, text this number if you want some custom bands. And then it was me and my business partner at the time, and we were getting tons of texts, and we're like, whoa, this is awesome. So before our website in the first year or in the first month, we made all of our money back, our investment money back. And then eventually we built our website. And then second month, we like doubled our original investment. So we made like $3,000. Third month, we made like $8,000. And by month 4, we were doing like $20,000. And we're like, holy cow, this is crazy. So I did that for a little while. Then I ended up exiting that actually. And my business partner now, he runs that. But because I was still in the pickleball space, I thought, wow, I already have all these connections and I love pickleball. That's one of my passions in life. What if I could start another business in the pickleball industry? And that's when I started Arete, selling the paddles.
Do you feel like you had that drive, the creative thinking growing up? Do you feel like that's an inherent skill, or do you feel like you developed that over time?
Yeah, I feel like that's a big skill my dad taught me. My dad always taught me it kind of good and kind of bad, right? But my dad always taught me like, whatever you want in life, you can get. Like, there's always a way to get what you want in life. And I've learned that I have to be careful with that mentality, right? Because that's not always a correct mentality to have. But I think in business, that's a great mentality. Hey, this is my goal. This is what I want to achieve. What am I going to do today? What am I going to do now to get to that point, to get to that level? Mm-hmm. So I feel like all growing up, I've always had a creative mentality. I love to create, but I also like to push myself really hard because I know that there's no limits essentially. Like one of the biggest things I've learned recently is to expand your vision. I mean, I'm sure you know, right? That as you learn more and more and see how easy it is to make money, start businesses, make connections, just expanding your vision alone will help propel you to know, hey, this is possible. Because if you don't think it's possible, then you're never going to accomplish it. If you think it's possible and if you believe, then I believe the universe will help you out in achieving whatever it is that is your goal.
Yeah. I mean, vision's everything. You can only achieve what you feel like you deserve.
100%.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying initially, could you dive a little bit more into why do you think that's bad that you were like taught that growing up? You said it was good and bad.
Yeah, I feel like it's good and bad. I feel like the bad part of it is like, I don't know, teachers sometimes didn't like it. And I feel like some peers growing up, I always tell people like people either really love me or really hate me. Because just like my personality, I feel like I come off kind of bold sometimes. So people would like the fact of like, wow, like, you know, he's a dreamer, he's ambitious. If he wants something, like he'll get it. But on the flip side, some people would look at that and be like, oh, like he always gets what he wants, you know? So it's kind of good and kind of bad. And I feel like I've been able to use it mostly for good, but yeah, I just feel like whenever like I want something and like someone would tell me no, like, hey, like you're not allowed to do that, or hey, you can't do it that way. I think, hey, I can't do it this way, but if I do X, Y, or Z, then that'll bring me to the same outcome. So like examples, I can't think of any like specifically, but in school all the time would be like someone would tell me like a teacher would tell me like, hey, you can't do this or you're not allowed to do that. So then I think, hey, if I do this other thing instead, then I will be allowed to do this. I don't know. I'm saying it really badly, but the point I'm trying to say is, yeah, like if you can just believe like, hey, you can accomplish it, there's always a way to accomplish it. And in sales, maybe there's better analogies, but just like with selling, like initially, like you can say, hey, I don't have any money, right? How can I market to people and get in front of millions of people if I have no money, right? The way to do that is you can join Facebook groups. You can post in there for free, asking for, you know, referrals or showcasing your product. You can go door to door. You can go to a convention center. You don't even have to have a booth and just go hand out flyers till you get kicked out. So there's a lot of ways to accomplish like what you want, even though there's limitations.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a super big point that you can literally achieve anything you want if you put your mind to it, if you're doing the correct inputs, ignoring the opinions of others, and just, yeah, doing everything that it takes.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, the inherent badness that you were talking about was more like socially from people. Like people just look down on you for figuring things out, getting what you want, like finessing the system, I guess in a way.
Yeah, I feel like that was the biggest thing was like people who didn't like it were either like jealous or they're like, oh, wow, I can't believe he's always getting what he wants, you know?
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that, I guess, social construct holds people back?
100%. I feel like too many people are afraid to like follow their dreams and goals because of what like people will tell them. Like I remember when I was starting my first pickleball company and we were selling like little $10 like rubber bands essentially, right, with people's names on them. I had a lot of friends and I lost a lot of friends because they'd say, oh, like, that's a cool idea, but you're never going to make real money out of it. Or like, that's a cool idea, but this or but that. So I really had to know who I was and like what I want out of life to know like, hey, like, sometimes it's really hard. One hard thing for me has been like outgrowing people or like leaving people behind. Cause like part of what I love is like people, my relationships. That's what I value most in life. So it's been hard, like I said, especially when I started my company to be like, hey, like these people don't support me. These people don't help me out. Like why am I being friends with them? Why should I surround myself with people like that? But I definitely feel like overall people are afraid to do stuff like whether it's like grow a social media channel, start a business, make new friends. They're afraid to do all that stuff because they're afraid of like what people will think about them, what their family will think about them, what their current friends will think about them. But from my experience, I've seen that like as you follow like or as you stay true to who you know you are, then like the right people will come into your life in the right situations and you'll end up exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. How do you feel like you cope with those days where it is like super lonely, where you are like leaving those people behind
Yeah.
and trying to move on?
For me, I'm a very religious guy. So I feel like
Yeah.
for me, it's just like knowing, especially like when I pray or when I read the Bible and the scriptures, just like knowing every morning I think about myself and every night I think about myself and I think like, am I doing everything I know I should be doing to keep a good relationship with the Lord? Because if I'm staying to like my code of ethics, if I'm sticking to my personal cores and values, then no matter what's going on around me, I know that, hey, in the end, I think I'll be all right.
Percent. What would you tell someone who's trying to like make that next step, to ignore the opinions of others, and I guess someone that is outgrowing like that friend group and trying to like achieve more? Like, what advice would you give someone?
Yeah, one of my biggest pieces of advice I'd probably say is take massive action. Like I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand with like what we're talking about. Whereas like a lot of people like I always use this at school because there's a lot of people at school who like love to like talk business and dream. And they'll always be like, oh, like I want to, follow this dream or I want to do this idea. And I've known some of the same people for 2, 3 years and they're still coming up to me, hey, like this is my idea. This is gonna be dope. I'm like, yeah, bro, but like take action now, like do whatever you can do now.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's one of the biggest things that people need to learn is like take massive action because until you actually like start putting in the work, start putting in the effort, nothing's going to happen, right? We can talk, all day about, oh, let's build a, $1 million pickleball company. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But until you actually like sit down on your computer, build that website, go out, talk to businesses, like go out and do marketing, nothing's going to happen.
No one's gonna do it for you.
Exactly.
I love that. I guess for you, what's your like vision moving forward? Like, where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah, so long term, I've actually been thinking about this a lot. I really love the pickleball industry. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, we're rebranding. So we started out doing like a lot of B2C, like business to consumer. But then we really figured out like our niche is in B2B. Most of our revenue was coming from like business to business deals. Large companies would approach us, say, hey, can you put our logo on 100, 200 paddles? So we really realized like, hey, like there's a gap in the market of B2B. There's a lot of companies who want paddles because like for B2C, there's already like some big names out there that kind of dominate the market space. But for B2B, there's no like big main player. So that's really like what we're transitioning to with our rebranding right now. But long term, I just feel like pickleball is awesome. Like I'm making good money, but I feel like there's more for me in my life. And so recently I've been very interested in healthcare administration.
Hmm.
So what that is like that's managing like rehab centers or like nursing facilities, stuff like that. And so long term, I'm gonna work for a company for like 2 to 3 years, gain some industry knowledge. Then my long term goal would be to start my own rehab centers. So long term, I'll always keep the pickleball business on the side. Maybe have a few employees do sales, do some marketing. But where like my passion and vision is helping other people. And I feel like one of the big ways I can accomplish that is through, running one of these like healthcare facilities and really making an impact in the lives of those people.
Yeah. And I guess where does that passion come from? Where's the backstory from?
That's a good question. I'd probably say from my parents. I feel like a lot of what they taught me is to give more than you receive. And I've tried to emulate that like my whole life of like, hey, God's given me a lot. He's blessed me with a lot. So I want to give back to other people. So with pickleball, I feel like while like I'm doing good things, I'm making a lot of money and I'm able to give back with that money. That is true. But with healthcare administration, I feel like I'm able to not only like give back with the money that I'll be making, but number two, like help other people and help the people like I'm serving day to day in those facilities who are injured, who need some help. But yeah, I just feel like it's really just my parents ingrained that in me, and yeah.
I love that. And do you feel like you're on track right now to get there?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What do you feel like is working well for you right now and achieving that? And then what do you feel like you're struggling with as well?
So you ask a lot of good questions. I like it. What do I think is going well right now to achieve that? I just think just discovering about myself, personal mastery. I feel like that's a big thing we were kind of talking about. I always like to like push myself and like see what I'm capable of. So like I just barely signed up for like the St. George Marathon here in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a runner like at all. Like my running time, like right now, even my mile time is like 10, 11 minutes. It's like my marathon, I'm shooting for like a 4:30 marathon, and most good runners can run in like an hour less than that. But I feel like just like I've been on a very big like self mastery kick of like learning like who I am, what my values are, what I want to do in life. So I feel like right now I'm doing really good at just like pushing myself, like going out of my comfort zone, like with the marathon, with the rebranding, just like with the people I'm networking with, meeting with.
It's massive action.
Exactly. Taking massive action. Other than where I feel like I could do better at. I'd have to think about that.
Oh, we got all day.
Let me think. Where could I do better for? What was the question again?
What do you feel like you've been struggling with in achieving that dream and goal of helping all those people down the line 5-10 years from now?
Yeah. I honestly think probably the biggest thing is just taking more action and taking more control of my time. I feel like one thing that I've realized for the past few years, but like have really realized now is how valuable your time is and how much time you have. So like everyone's like, I feel like I talk to people and they're always like, oh, I'm so busy with this or that. But if you break down your day-to-day actions like in 15-minute increments, you realize just how much time you're wasting. Like you realize like, you can lay down at night and say like, oh, I've been so busy today. But if you were really to break it down, you spent, 15 minutes scrolling on your phone, laying on the couch, or you spent 20 minutes just like chilling in your car, or, little things like that. I feel like that's probably the main thing I'm not struggling with, but working on right now is just like really evaluating my day-to-day actions and seeing where I can cut out like that time. And sometimes it's like different things, right? Like early on in my entrepreneurship career, I was in a bunch of different projects with a bunch of different people. And I kind of had to take a step back and realize like, whoa, I'm kind of doing too much. Like working on all these different projects is using up all my time, and I'm not really like getting any traction with any of them. So I realized like it'd be better to like kind of like slow that down and realize like which ones would have like the biggest like payout or value for me in my life, and just work on like 2 or 3 projects at a time. Just to make sure I'm giving my full effort, taking massive action with those projects, and actually like accomplishing that goal of like doing good in the world and getting where I want to be.
So, I mean, doing the right inputs and enough of them is
Exactly
what moves the needle forward.
100%.
It's pretty crazy that you mentioned the 15-minute increments because
Yeah. Have you tried that?
I have. That's Dan Martell. Do you know who that is? He has a great book called Buying Back Your Time. And that's one concept he talks about a lot is for 2 weeks, do a 2-week audit every 15 minutes, chop it up, see where you're spending all your time. And that, I don't know, it was super humbling for me. I don't know how it was for you.
Yeah. I guess I should ask you, what did you learn from it?
That was...
What were biggest takeaways?
I think we like to profess we're busy just to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah.
And prove something to someone else, where in reality, a lot of times like we're not as busy as we think.
100%.
Where we can always be doing more.
Yeah. There's actually a really good story. I was talking to a buddy exactly about this the other day, and you probably heard the story too, but the story is like there's a lady, right? And she goes to her chicken coop to pick up the eggs. And while she gets in the chicken coop, she realizes it's pretty dirty. So she says to herself, oh, I'm going to rake up the chicken coop. She goes to grab the rake and she realizes, oh, I don't have a rake. I better drive to the store to go get a rake. So while she's driving to the store, she realizes, oh, my car, needs more gas. I'm going to go to the gas station and fill it up. And when she's on her way to the gas station, she realizes, oh, my car's kind of dirty too. Maybe I should get a car wash instead. Then moral of the story, right? She goes about her day, like going to all these places, like trying to fix all these problems. And she lays down at the end of the day and says, wow, like that was a productive day. I was really busy. I did a lot. But then you realize, she never bought the rake. She never got the eggs. She never got her car washed. So I feel like that's a lot of people in this life, honestly, where they're always moving around. They're feeling like they're really busy doing a lot. But then it's not until you really evaluate your day that you realize like, whoa, like I think I'm really busy, but I'm actually not. And I feel like that's good for us to realize because you realize, wow, I really have more time to, follow my passion, do what I love, and and take some massive actions.
100%. I think it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day of things too. So it's good to have those audits and sit down and look at what you're doing. So no, I love that. Just one last thing before we wrap up this segment. If you had to leave one piece of advice to someone who's aspiring to start a business, what's one thing you wish you would have told yourself when you were first getting into all of it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like some of the big ones I've highlighted already are like take massive action, give more than you receive. But I feel like the biggest one for me is just live in the moment. I used to always say like enjoy the moment. That was my motto. You know, every year when I do my New Year's resolutions, I try to make like a motto for the year. And one year I made the motto like enjoy the moment. But then I realized like every moment not necessarily is meant to be enjoyed. You know, like you're gonna have hard times, you're gonna have bad times, right? You're gonna make big goals for yourself, like me for running a marathon, right? And then I'm gonna go train and I'm gonna do my long runs on Saturdays when I'm running 15, 20 miles. And I think, oh, I'm not really enjoying this moment, right? I have the end goal that I know I'm gonna enjoy, but in the moment, I'm like, this kind of sucks. So I changed that goal from enjoy the moment to live in the moment. Because while I don't think every moment is meant to be enjoyed, I think every moment is meant to be lived. And as you live it and really embrace it, I feel like that's how you grow as a person. You know, like when you're in a heated situation and you realize like, wow, like I'm living in the moment. I feel mad. Why do I feel mad? Or like living in the moment means, you know, if you're sad, right? Just recognizing like, why am I sad? Or, you know, enjoying those good times as well. So I feel like my biggest piece of advice to any aspiring entrepreneur is just like live in the moment, enjoy it, and just ride the roller coaster, right? Entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. There's always different problems you're solving. You're going to have problems with people, with employees. You're going to have problems with marketing campaigns not working. There's going to be times where you're going to be almost broke. There's going to be times where you feel on top of the world because you're making so much money. So I feel like just like living in the moment, enjoying it, taking it all in, and just riding the wave of life.
Thanks for being on, Jimmy.
Thank you for having me. Good to see you again.
Up next, we're going to have Tal, Reagan, and Jimmy, a little rapid fire section. Tal and Reagan are going to ask Jimmy a few questions. Really just about business, about how to make that jump forward from sales to starting a company, about networking, a few other things as well. So stay tuned.
Jimmy,
Yep.
what's a common mistake you see in starting a business or specifically a first business?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes I see is they don't do enough validation. So like I believe in taking massive action. Like it's important to like, if you have an idea, like go for it, like go all out. But I think one key to that or one caveat is like, it's important to do validation. So really like if you have like a business idea, like kind of like the process I follow is like you figure out a pain, right? So like for me with my pickleball paddles and accessories, the pain was everyone had the same paddle. Then afterwards, I go out and interview and I do surveys. So I figure out like, hey, what would be the best solution to this pain that people have? And then I go out and ask people. So like my solution was a custom band with people's names and phone numbers on it. Then I went out and I asked people, I talked to people, hey, is this something you'd even buy? How much would you pay for it? You know, and then I did surveys too, surveying people like, hey, same type of questions like, hey, is it something you'd buy? Are you interested in it? What would you like to see like color wise? Things like that, font wise especially. So I feel like one common thing I don't see people do enough of is that validation work. A lot of people just have an idea and be like, oh wow, this would be an awesome idea, but they, you know, forget to talk to the actual clients or like the actual people who would use that product. They just think, oh, I know the perfect solution to whatever pain it is. But if they don't validate that idea through like surveys and interviews, they could spend a lot of money and waste a lot of money building a product that people really don't want. So that'd probably be my biggest piece of advice is just like, hey, do your validation, do that work, because that'll save you thousands of dollars down the road.
That's awesome. My next question is, do you have a mentor and how has that affected your success? And are you interested in doing that for others?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I have a lot of really good mentors. One of my best mentors of life, his name is Nathan Pugsley. He's local here in Utah, has a very successful construction company. And it's been awesome to talk to him ever since I've been home from my mission. Every few months we'll get lunch and talk to each other. And then I'll give him occasional phone calls and just kind of pick his mind on what I should be doing. Because he'd been very successful in his industry and in business. So I'd say mentors play a huge role in just kind of helping balance like that passion, that energy you have. And kind of helping you see like, hey, like this is awesome, but maybe you should explore this option as well. or like, hey, like that's a great idea, but have you thought about this possible like problem, right? So I feel like mentors have played a huge role in my life, and I've been blessed to have amazing mentors. I go to Brigham Young University here in Utah, and they have a really good, I guess they give you really good access to a lot of like successful business owners around the world. So I've been really blessed with like whenever I have like a business idea or I'm helping out another friend with a project, I've been able to find like good mentors in specific industries for that. And then I guess the second part of your question, yes, I'd love to be. I mean, I currently do it a little bit for like the entrepreneurship major with some of like the newer students starting out businesses, but long term, I really believe in like giving back because I feel like the more you give back, the more the universe will give to you because then they know like you'll be a good steward of whatever you get. So I'm a firm believer in giving back to people. And one way I hope to do that is through mentoring.
I love that. I mean, we talk about this in door to door a lot, but you need a why to mentally stay super strong and like to really motivate you. So I would say, what's your why and what's the why behind your future plans as well?
Yeah, great question. My biggest why would just be number one, providing for my future family, right? So when I get married and I have kids, I want to give them the best life possible. So I feel like I'm working really hard now to give them that good life that I want to give them. Then number two, kind of like I mentioned, is just like giving back to other people. So I'd love to like retire young, and then I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'd love to retire young and then go and work for their church headquarters, doing whatever they need. Or I'd love to go serve like a senior mission, do some missionary work in other countries, stuff like that. So my biggest why is just providing for my family and then taking care of those around me and then just giving back my time and my talents to God.
I love that.
Cool, Jimmy. Well, I'm wanting to start a couple businesses. I'm working on a couple with my brother right now. We've been through the validation process. We're going through the validation process on another. I know you talked with Reagan about validation being one of the most important parts when you're starting out. And sometimes that's kind of a gray area because, you don't want to spend too much time planning and kind of get caught in analysis paralysis. How would you recommend balancing that and making sure you get enough validation while also making sure you're taking action quick enough?
That's a great question. The biggest thing I'd say is just like try to find your own balance. Cause like I feel like everyone's very energetic and eager to like go out and like do stuff. So I think like you should be going out there, doing stuff. You should be talking to people, posting in Facebook groups, or doing some like free marketing. And I feel like the more you do that, that's like additional validation, right? So like you go through like the validation projects, right? You have the idea, you do surveys, you do interviews, and then you have like this idea and you think, hey, like this might actually work. Like go out, make a prototype, go out, post in Facebook groups, see if you get any bites. And then as you get those bites and as you start talking to people and actually selling your product, then you can start to see like, hey, like people have been complaining about this aspect of my product, or people have been wanting this different color of my product, or whatever it may be. So I feel like you mentioned, like don't get stuck in that process of like, oh, like I need, more data. I need more data. That data will come as you go out and like as you actually make an MVP, right? Like a viable product for people to see and buy.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. And I know networking is super important too. I know you're big on networking as well. How do you view networking and how does that incorporate into your life?
That's a good question. Yeah, this is like, what's it called? Like hot take, maybe you could say. But my hot take is like I really believe and I love school because I feel like school. I'm at BYU and I'm in the entrepreneurship major. The biggest thing I get out of school it's not necessarily like what I'm learning, although I'm learning great things, but it's the people I'm surrounded with, right? It's like-minded people who have the same values, ethics that I do, but it's also people who have like big dreams, big aspirations, and it's also people who have already accomplished big things. So I feel like networking is like one of the biggest roles because networking will put you in rooms that, you never could have been if you never went to different events or talked to different people. So I'll just say I love school because it's really good to like network and meet new people. And that's really the key to business, right? Like if there's two different people applying for a job and the recruiter knows one of them like personally, right? Knows their values, knows their ethics, knows what they like to do and vibes with them a lot. There's a lot higher chance that you're going to get that job or you're going to get that opportunity if you have already networked and know the people.
Cool. And then I guess one more question I'd ask is what would be your biggest piece of advice for someone like me who's just getting started on starting a couple things, and for other people who want to start stuff and are getting started, what would be your biggest piece of advice for me and others like me?
Oh, another great question. You ask a lot of good questions. But I'd probably say my biggest piece of advice would be just time management, honestly. I feel like with me and my own personal story, like I've been at places in my life where I've been working on a ton of different projects, and none of those projects have had like a lot of traction. Whereas if I like dial it back and only work on a few like big projects, then I get a lot more traction. So I feel like just like managing your time, and like you can feel like you're really busy doing a ton of different projects and have like that like vision, like, oh, like I'm going to be successful, one's going to take off. But if you're not giving adequate time to like those projects, then none of them are really going to do good. And same goes with like relationships, right? Whatever else it is in your life that you value, like just making sure you're balancing your time for like business, family, friends. And as you balance it all, I feel like that's really like where you find true like happiness and joy. And like I love to work. I'd say I'm a workaholic, but I think it's important to know like, hey, like if you're a workaholic like me, like yeah, put a lot of time for work, but also don't forget about your family. Don't forget about your friends and service and stuff like that.
Cool. Thank you.